Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 26th June 2023. My name is T.S.V. Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. I This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Haribol TRSV Nectar NECTAR Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in the vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous videos. So let us start with the discussion on the topic of today for this particular video. In the past few videos, we have been discussing about karma and its types in detail. We have talked about the storage of karma of a human living entity called Sanchit Karma. We have talked about a slice of Sanchit Karma that the living entity is born with to be worked out in a particular birth, which is known as Prarabdha Karma. Then the living entity uses his or her free will to do some actions on his or her own, which is known as Kriyamana Karma. And fourthly, the unused Prarabdha Karma and the unused Kriyamana Karma, which are clubbed together to be made into what is known as Agami Karma. This Agami Karma goes back to the original storage of that living entity's karma called Sanchit Karma. The next birth will depend on another slice of the same karma, which may or may not include this share of unworked prarabdha karma and unworked kriyamana karma. In this process, we discussed about several case histories. Today, we shall talk about a music duo from Bollywood, the film industry of India, which is situated in the commercial capital of the state of Maharashtra called Bombay or Mumbai. This particular musical duo, which is a combination of paradox and contradictions, was in fact one of the most successful musical duos which became a legend in the Bollywood film industry in the 90s and 2000, etc. Let us start talking about them. This duo was called Nadeem Shravan duo. There was one guy called Nadeem and there was one guy called Shravan. These two joined together to make this musical video. But the paradox or irony of it was, though they were born on the same year, they were almost exact opposites in real life. But probably destiny had brought them together, and that was the reason why they were born in the same year, though different months and from different backgrounds. Nadeem the first was an extremely wealthy guy born with a silver or golden spoon in his mouth. His father was an extremely successful businessman and they owned a market in Bombay. However, this guy, who was born in the year 1954 in the month of August, was extremely attractive, intelligent, and musically talented and interested. He was not keen to take on the family business. Instead, he wanted to become a music director and a singer. At that time, he came across another boy called Shravan. This Shravan was also born on 13th November 1954 and he belonged to an humble middle class musical family. He was very musically talented, though he did not have much money. Both of them began struggling to make it big in the film industry. Shravan was brilliant. He was a talent spotter. He found that he had wealth and Shravan had a lot of musical talent and resources. So he offered that for the time being he will financially help Shravan till they got settled as music directors and they could start struggling as a music duo. Shravan agreed. Nadeem was gracious enough to take care of the financial needs of Shravan during this struggle period. However, this struggle period was not long. Before that, they met another young man who was extremely intelligent and had a flair to make money and to do business. His name was Mr. Gulshan Kumar. Nadeem and Shravan were introduced as music directors in this Mr. Gulshan Kumar's music company. Their very first film, called Ashiki, became a raging hit not only in India but also abroad. These two had now arrived. They were an envy for other music directors and aspiring musicians. Soon enough, they were so busy that they did not have a time for themselves or to relax. They signed several films and several producers and directors of films found it a status symbol to be working with Nadeem Shravan in their projects. Now they began making money hands over fist. Shravan probably returned all the financial help he had received from Nadeem in the initial stages to Nadeem. However, both of them became extremely successful, and then it all took a dramatic turn. I would like to tell you here that while Nadeem was of the business side and a person who was interested in marketing their duo, Shravan was more a person to hug the background and to do music there. Yes, both of them contributed to the music, but it was Shravan who was interested in working in the background. Both became famous and prosperous. But in this process, what happened was Nadeem, the first of the duo, came across several bigwigs from the film industry and other sides. He was a natural businessman, and so he had the flair to make friends with many people, of whom some were extremely unsavory. Shravan was not at all aware of this development. Nadeem had nursed a desire to become not only just a music director but also a singer. Nadeem sang and Shravan music directed his songs. Both of them approached Mr. Gulshan Kumar to request him to promote these songs. Mr. Gulshan Kumar found that those songs were not up to the mark. Nadeem was an extremely talented and intelligent music director, but he was no singer. He could not sing his own songs, much to the disappointment of Mr. Nadeem and to the cynicism of Mr. Gulshan Kumar. Mr. Gulshan Kumar was a businessman. He told Mr. Nadeem point blank that whatever he did was only to make money, and hence he did not find it a very lucrative idea to promote songs sung by Mr. Nadeem. There was some animosity between the two from then on, but Mr. Gulshan Kumar did not care. Then one day, Mr. Gulshan Kumar was shot dead gangster style in the year 1995. Mr. Nadeem, who was in England at that time, was accused of engineering this particular contract killing. Shravan was totally unaware of it and he was above suspicion. However, Mr. Shravan said that I know Mr. Nadeem like the back of my hand and he is not capable of hurting even a fly. But the government was adamant. It accused Mr. Nadeem of the murder of Mr. Gulshan Kumar and banned him from coming back to India. Mr. Nadeem, who started his career as a music director, had to make do to by going back to his age old family profession of family business. He became a businessman and began distributing products from the country of Dubai. He could never return to India. Meanwhile, Mr. Shravan retained the same Dio label and legend and directed some music for the Dio for other producers. But the complete charisma and charm or veneer on this particular label was now fast eroding. They The music directed some films with varied degrees of success. People trusted Shravan, but they looked at Nadeem warily and they started avoiding this duo. This frustrated both Nadeem and Shravan. Nadeem remained in Dubai, whereas Shravan was here, and one day Shravan, during the Corona period, contracted the disease and was killed. He died of Corona a few years back. This was just a story. Now we will talk about the most important thing, that is karma of the two. First, we will talk about destiny. Destiny wanted that these two should come together and succeed in this material world. That is the reason why they were born in the same year, though from different months and different backgrounds. It made Mr. Nadeem quite rich so that he could financially help Shravan, who was extremely talented musically. Thus, the partnership between the two got cemented successfully, so much so that they became a raging hit during the 90s and the first 10 years of the 21st century. Now, Prarabdha Karma. Shravan's Prarabdha Karma was such that he was born in an extremely talented family so that he could become a successful musician later on. Whereas Nadeem, who was supposed to be the richer of the two, was born in an extremely successful business family. Being born in such backgrounds is not exactly the fault of the living entity. He or she is born with a particular slice from his or her Sanchit Karma. Nadeem had his slice and Shravan had his. So we cannot blame each of them for their backgrounds. However, because of this prarabdha karma, each one of them got ready for what was going to happen in the end or when they succeeded. Now, they were both musically inclined and talented. Probably this was also their prarabdha karma. However, when they shifted from prarabdha karma to kriyamana karma of free will, nobody knows. But this shift was gradual and smooth. Soon, according to the kriyamana karma, these two became famous music directors. But here also, after a very lucrative and shining path towards success. This Mr. Nadeem, who was born so wealthy, had to cross swords with Gulshan while Shravan stayed in the sidelines and watched. Nadeem had to come from the sublime to the ridiculous in this birth, which is most probably rooted in his prarabdha karma, but which was possible probably because of his kriyamana karma. Getting connected to unsavory elements was certainly Mr. Nadeem's kriyamana karma, as a result of which his murder of Mr. Gulshan Kumar was totally a part of his kriyamana karma in this birth. This karma of murdering a person would have been either worked out in this birth or a residue of this will remain in his psyche to such an extent that it will raise his future Sanchit karma. What is going to happen in such a case, nobody knows. If a slice or a part of his deadly karma, kriyamana karma in this birth remains unworked out, he will have to use it as his prarabdha karma in some future birth. Whereas Shravan, who was his partner and who had nothing to do with this, escaped unscathed. Yes, it is another matter that Mr. Shravan died because of corona. Probably this was also destiny's intervention. It wanted to save Mr. Shravan from future agony, and so it took him away from this murky water of the film industry and the underworld in Bombay, India. It wanted to save him from further turmoil and distress. Mr. Nadeem, who started as a businessman, showed promise as a music director and later got involved in an unfortunate murder, had to become what he was born as, a businessman, albeit in a different country. He is now a successful businessman who is making some money in various projects of his own business, which was his natural talent as a businessman's son. This particular story gives us a very good idea of how karma works. A person is born with his or her prarabdha karma or a slice of his or her sanchit karma, but thanks to his or her free will, the same person does some action which may be worked out in this particular lifetime, or its residue may be carried forward and joined with his or her already existing sanchit karma to be used as prarabdha karma in a future birth. This is precisely the reason why none of us is able to understand why a particular thing is happening to us. Probably it is because of our own prarabdha karma, where we did some kriyamana karma in some previous birth, which we are now not aware of in our actual memory. Probably it is embedded in our subconscious or unconscious and superconscious memory, and that is the reason why it comes as a surprise for us in our this birth or future births. We should remember that because this is happening, we must always use our free will to do only good, pure, and holy deeds. We can be helpful, good Samaritans, or at least be normal so that nothing negative becomes a part of our sanchit karma and our future prarabdha karma. This is the way to live because our ultimate purpose is to get self realized, liberated, and delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is possible only if either all our karma is worked out or God intervenes and burns all our karma. We must pray to God that He burns all our karma so that we get liberated from this repeated cycle of birth and death. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular matter. Please give me your own expert ideas, thoughts, opinions, and views in this matter so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.